I don't feel the need to chase every fleeting trend. Wooden Sleepers has an aesthetic. We focus on classic American menswear. Pieces that looked cool then, they look cool now. They're gonna keep looking cool forever. Regardless of what your personal style is, you can find something here that will work within your wardrobe. I had always been interested in vintage clothing, but I think on a deeper level, coming from the world of punk rock and skateboarding and DIY and hip hop and just hearing like countless stories of people doing their own thing, that always really inspired me. I was at a point in my life where college was done, I was working a job I didn't really love, I was feeling uninspired creatively, and it was actually Allison, my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, who said, well, you really like vintage, why don't you start an online vintage menswear store, which at the time was like really a novel concept. I mean, this was 2010. We started selling this kind of curated, like tight edit of vintage menswear online. It had a point of view, it had my point of view, and it just grew from there. I mean, we almost immediately started getting press, started getting customers, and so we took it out of the apartment and went to a studio. And that opened up the opportunity to have private appointments, build a clientele, invite press in for a look at what we were up to. The goal all along was to open a store. Every day I would wake up with so much anxiety and panic over the fact that the store was not open. Money was just burning every day. Like, we didn't have investors, we didn't have loans, we didn't have anything. This was just like savings of mine. And I naively thought like, oh, I've done pop-ups before, I've done markets, like, it's be easy. You just get a store, you put some racks in it, you set up the clothes. I've done it a million times. It took us 8 months to open the store. All I had was a vision. I knew what I wanted it to be, I knew what I wanted it to look like, and then grit. And thank God for friends and family who came in and helped me out along the way. But it was a grind. We were working nights and weekends for months. Finally, when we opened, there was not like a grand reveal, you know, we just looked around one day and I remember asking Allison, I said, hey, does this look like a store? Does this feel like a store? Like, if you came in here right now, would you think this was some hack job, or would you think this was like a legitimate business? And she said, no, it feels like a store. So I said, all right, we'll open tomorrow. As a customer of vintage for years, there was a lot of things I hated about vintage stores. I hated that they were overcrowded. I hated that the best stuff was hung high up on the wall and wasn't for sale. It's like, that's the stuff I want. I come from a retail background, so I took all those things that I hated, and this is the biggest cliche in entrepreneurship, but I said, you know, there's gotta be a better way to do this. I also felt like menswear was underrepresented in the vintage market. You know, you go to most vintage stores, it's like 90% women's wear, and there's one lousy rack of menswear. It's not very thought out, it's just like the scraps. Frustrating because there's so many amazing pieces of vintage menswear. I thought, you know what if we collected all this stuff and put it in one place? You know, what if we got all the cool old workwear, the old sportswear, the military stuff, the outdoorsy stuff, you know, the little kind of objects that help tell the story. What if we put that all in one place and made it easy to shop, like a retail store? Made it look nice, made size runs available, made it organized, made it smell good, be friendly, like actually say hello to people when they come in and be helpful, and have the good stuff be for sale. I'll tell you, the biggest compliment is when people come in and they say, is this stuff used? Because they don't think it's a vintage store, they think it's a boutique. And that, you know, I love that. I thought having a strong logo was always something that was important. I wanted something that felt imperfect, that felt hand done, because everything in the store has had a life before this one. It's all a little worn, it's rumpled, it's broken in, it's mended, it's cared for, and I wanted the logo to reflect that. So everything has a handmade touch to it. It's not too rigid or sharp. That design work has translated to to bigger and better things like our own products. When you have your own business, you have the luxury of being able to define success for yourself. And success for me is being able to make a living, being fully independent, being able to support my family, pay my bills, live comfortably, and be a good neighbor. I stand by the fact that these pieces are resistant to trends and that they'll always look good, and I feel like that's my North Star. I'm Brian Davis, and this is Wooden Sleepers.